Some like it hot, spicy that is. A sensation called pungency or burning hot, spicy, peppery, and food is loved by some people and hated by others. But what causes some of us to prefer spicy foods while others don't? This has fascinated researchers since the 1980s. But could it be that your personality plays a role? Stay tuned to find out. Hey there, welcome to Science is You, a channel dedicated to making real biotechnology research enjoyable and accessible for everyone. Please subscribe to help this channel get off the ground. It's just one click of a button, but it will help this channel out so much. Thanks for watching. Could our food choices say more about our personality than we think? This paper explored the relation between personality and preference for spicy food and found some surprising results. Prior to the publication of the study in 2018, correlations between liking spicy food and sensation seeking had been made, not surprisingly. But there are other factors that were observed to potentially influence our choice of spice level, such as sensitivity, gender, and even genetic factors. But some studies were conflicting, and other factors such as nationality, type of food being tasted, sense of adventurousness, and so forth could all contribute to whether or not you like spicy food. The mystery of what causes differences in liking pungent food was far from solved. But why does it even matter? Consuming foods like chilies that are rich in capsaicin may have health benefits including reduced mortality. Understanding what causes differences in our food choices could perhaps help make healthier foods more appealing, or identify risk factors that cumulatively could contribute to poor diet and disease. The authors of this study wanted to examine more thoroughly the reasons why some people like it hotter than others. Specifically, the researchers wanted to see whether personality traits were connected with liking a burning sensation in food, and whether personality affected a preference for pungent foods if given a choice. Further, the scientists wanted to see whether any differences existed due to gender. The data collected here were part of the larger Italian Taste Project, a collective study intended to investigate what causes difference in food preference. Data was collected on a large sample size of over 1,100 Italian individuals of a variety of ages. But what data did they collect? Testing consisted of written questionnaires to evaluate personality traits and sensory taste tests in the lab. For the taste tests, participants were given samples of tomato juice that had been spiked with increasing amounts of capsaicin. Participants were told to use a rating scale from 0, hating it, to 100, loving the taste. Neither liking nor disliking would be 50, for example. The next test was a bit more intense. The participants were given different water solutions that corresponded to different taste sensations: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, made by mixing in either sucrose for sweet, table salt for salty, caffeine for bitterness, citric acid for sour, or our favorite processed food additive MSG for umami. In addition, capsaicin water represented pungency. To rate these beverages, the study participants were instructed to use a scale of acidity from 0, barely detectable, to 100, the strongest sensation you can imagine. Think about the from an ice cube on your tongue, the noise from a low-flying plane, or shutting your finger in a door. The participants were then again given the series of capsaicin-spiked tomato juice shots and used the intensity scale to evaluate the sensations of burning, sourness, sweetness, and overall flavor. Taste was further evaluated using the ability to taste a bitter substance called PROP, which stands for 6-N-propyl-2-thiouracil. Participants were classified into non-tasters who couldn't taste much of it at all, medium tasters, or super tasters. Participants were questioned as to how often they eat chili pepper or other pungent, spicy foods. Responses could range from never to 2 or more times per day. Further questions asked participants to choose between two foods, such as sweet provolone cheese versus hot provolone cheese, and indicate for what meal, lunch, dinner, snack, they would most likely consume it. The number of taste buds on participants' tongues were even manually counted by staining with food coloring. But in addition to these very detailed measures of evaluating taste ability, sensations, and food preferences, what about measuring personality traits? Different questionnaires were used to assess 6 personality traits: food neophobia, private body consciousness, sensitivity to punishment or reward, sensitivity to core disgust, and alexithymia. So what do all these mean? Food neophobia means you don't like to try out new foods. Private body consciousness refers to an awareness of internal sensations. Sensitivity to punishment and sensitivity to reward can reflect two major brain systems, called the behavioral inhibition system and the behavioral activation system. These were evaluated using a questionnaire that asked questions based on potential perceived rewards, such as money and praising. Sensitivity to core disgust measured individuals' tolerance for, well, disgusting things like rotten food, vermin, and we'll stop there. Alexithymia is a multifaceted term that refers to difficulty describing emotions and sensations to other people, a lack of fantasy, and a personality that is very rooted in the external present. So what did they find? First, interestingly, age didn't seem to be associated with liking chilies or burning hot foods, but gender was. They found that gender appeared to correlate with differences in personality traits as recorded via their assessments. Specifically, females had higher private body consciousness and were more sensitive to disgust and punishment. Males, on the other hand, were more neophobic, more sensitive to reward, and had higher alexithymia. Also, females appeared to eat less pungent foods overall than males. For these reasons, the researchers decided to study males and females as separate groups in this study. In the spiked tomato juice experiment, they found that for both males and females, people who had low food neophobia, weren't as sensitive to disgust, liked these samples more. In other words, people who were more daring with food choice and not as easily grossed out could tolerate higher spice levels. Not totally surprising. But also in both gender groups, people who were more sensitive to reward also appeared to prefer higher spice levels. Accordingly, people who had high food neophobia and high disgust sensitivity, let's call them the picky eaters, rated the intensity of burning and flavor higher than the more, let's say, daring foodies. There wasn't any significant correlation of alexithymia or private body consciousness to liking spice levels, but females who were high in these areas, as well as sensitivity to punishment, rated the intensity of pungency higher. Also, this intensity existed for acid and sweet flavors. Sensitivity to rewards seemed to play a surprising role in taste perception in both males and females, with persons higher in reward sensitivity reporting higher intensities of sweetness. But tasteability also played a role in the perception of burning and flavor. Remember the sensitivity to prop test? People classified as super tasters scored samples significantly higher for burning, acid, sweetness, and overall flavor in both males and females. But in both genders, how much they ate it normally, familiarity with the spicy food, and how much people said they like spicy food also played a role in rating pungent foods. Overall, the researchers noted three main patterns. First, in both genders, individuals that were more sensitive to disgust and more neophobic, the pickier people, didn't like the capsaicin spiked tomato juice as much and perceived the burning and flavor as more intense. Second, in both genders, people who were more sensitive to reward liked the spiked tomato juice more. Third, in females, the personality traits of alexithymia and sensitivity to punishment appeared to play a role in the perceived intensity of pungency, but not on whether or not they liked it. How might some of these patterns be explained? While food neophobia, sensitivity to punishment, and disgust have all been found to be associated with anxiety. This makes sense because people who are more anxious are also often more sensitive to stimuli and sensory inputs such as pain. Capsaicin in higher concentrations produces a burning, pain-like sensation. So the researchers hypothesized that these personality traits might impact liking. Intriguingly, these traits were not significantly correlated with tasting ability, which led the authors to postulate that the differences in taste perception might have more to do with anxiety than actual tasting ability. The effect of sensitivity to reward on liking spicy food might be a unique characteristic of the effect of personality on food choice. People who have more reward sensitivity also reported a higher perception of sweetness intensity for the spicy tomato juice. This might mean that these people are more focused on the rewarding aspect of the food's flavor, like seeing the glass half full versus half empty. Overall, the authors concluded that some personality traits do play an important role in pungent food choice. Specifically, some traits like reluctantness to try new foods for both genders and sensitivity to punishment in females were associated with not choosing pungent foods. These traits that could be associated with anxiety might be a barrier for choosing spicy food. Also, gender may play a role in the effect of personality in food choice. This might be more due to the author's observations that males appeared to be more sensitive to reward than females in this study. The authors report their study has revealed two major things. First, the impact of personality on pungent food liking and perceived burning intensity may differ in males and females. Second, some personality traits are associated with liking and perceiving spice levels, some are not. Some are associated only with liking spice levels or perceived spice levels, or choice to eat spicy foods. Also, we can't completely conclude whether an individual's personality traits associated with liking pungent food are a cause or rather a consequence of increased sensitivity to taste or other stimuli. Further studies will have to explore this, but the authors did observe one personality trait, sensitivity to reward, that appeared to directly correlate with increased liking of hot chili pepper, independent of how intense the tasters perceived the burning. Maybe taste and food preference is directly related to the meaning we associate with it. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and subscribe to support our channel, and remember,